Hi, this is Ariel Christy with the Steve Volkers Group.
And I'm Steve with
You're
the Steve Volkers
Steve.
Group. Yeah, so we're here.
Yeah, in real life.
You want to talk condos and things, right?
We do, yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about condos, why they seem to be increasing in popularity.
Right.
Different age groups, different lifestyles,
Right,
different
for sure.
needs. So first of all, the term condo and townhome sometimes get thrown around a little
Yeah.
bit. Can you share what the difference is between those two?
Yeah, so I think townhome is more a style than it is an actual, most townhomes in West Michigan are condos, right? So condo is really a legal definition of a condominium, and then there is an association and so forth. So townhomes really is an architectural style that then is typically a condo,
Okay.
right? So it's
Sure.
that goofiness of, what is an architectural style? So people get confused. I think that comes also from big cities where there are townhomes that are not condoized,
Sure.
right? Where in New York or Chicago or wherever, you can buy a townhome, which
Yep.
is basically an attached home on either side, right? Or an end unit or whatever. But you can own that specific unit individually. You take care of your roof, you take care of your maintenance, that kind of thing. Where in West Michigan, I'm not aware of any of those kind of townhomes
Setup.
per se, which are separate. But in Michigan, or specifically in West Michigan, a townhome is traditionally a condominium
here.
association as well. Yeah.
So there are more than a few different styles of condos,
Yeah.
with large buildings and then kind of the standalone units. Kind of the large building that comes to mind that people might be familiar with is kind of the old Union High School downtown.
Right, with the metal structure above the old brick.
Yep,
right?
and the pool on the rooftop
Right.
when you're driving around.
Yeah.
So do you find that there are any trends or similarities in these different styles, such as location, buyers, investors, anything like that, that attracts certain people to the different types?
Sure. I mean, there's definitely different associations or different complexes that, how would you put it, attract different audiences, right? And that's just age or demographic or whatever. And I think that's the same as single family homes,
Sure.
right? Like, you might want to live in Byron Center because of a school district, or that's where you grew up, or you like that style home, or you might be a city person and want to live in 1.5 story in a walkable little city neighborhood.
Sure.
So I think it's the same with condominiums. You've got, your sort of row style ranches. You have standalones now that are becoming more and more popular as baby boomers definitely age in place and age out of the bigger house
Sure.
ultimately. So yeah, each complex is definitely going to attract a different audience or area, right? So it's not any different again than single family. It's usually area first, then it's specific neighborhood, and instead of a neighborhood like in the suburbs of this neighborhood or that neighborhood, it's just building or association, right?
Right. Sometimes the lending for buyers can be a little bit different for a condo versus a site-built home.
Almost always.
Almost always,
yeah,
right.
Sometimes, yeah, it is, right?
So can you help outline what some of those things are that you've seen from your experience that people might not think of when they decide they want to buy a condo if they're coming from a single-family home?
Yeah, so lending in and of itself is always based on risk, right? So a lender provides you money to buy a home, and they're always trying to value the risk to reward, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to give you X amount of money, and depending on you, the person, your income, where you're going to live, all those kind of things, they're going to determine the risk, right? With a condominium complex, it's riskier for a bank to lend in, specifically because there are other people that are attached to the greater complex, right? So in that greater complex, if I default on my mortgage and decide not to pay, and I decide not to pay the association fee, well then, if it's a complex of 10 or if it's a complex of 200, then everybody has to come up with that difference, until which time it's whose responsibility to cover that. Well, the guarantor is really the bank.
Sure.
And so the bank ends up being then responsible for bad taxes or bad, like you name it, right? So in the crash, that's what happened 10 or 12 years ago, that there was such a default in all properties, but it was very easy to, not easy, but different to just take a single family, pay the bad taxes and put it back on the market. Well, with condos and associations, there's a lot more involved.
Yeah.
And if in a complex, if a couple people default, it brings the whole complex value down rapidly. And so if I were to do a rush sale, I needed to move to Florida for whatever reason, I want out of here, just get me my money, Steve, right? Like, and whatever you can sell it for, sell it tomorrow, I don't care.
Sure.
Well, that price per square foot or that amount ultimately completely changes the whole building structure immediately when they do appraisal. So there's more risk in the lending side. So that's why it's very different.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what are your thoughts on association fees? They can certainly vary quite a bit from association and complex, the different ones. After my previous experience in property management, I definitely see where all that money goes. Right. But what are your thoughts and recommendations when it comes to someone being aware of what's included or not included, or expectations there?
Well, one thing I remind everyone that is a condo association is a nonprofit. They are not to build profits. There is a governing board, typically made up of other homeowners. They can hire a property manager or not, right? Which was your previous work experience before coming to hang out with us. So it varies. So I always remind people, like, yes, this is higher than this building, or this complex is higher than this building, but you either get or you don't get certain amenities based on what you want to pay for. So it's always what you're paying for, or the age of the complex is always what I'll go back to. It's okay, well, you said you wanted a walking trail for your puppy. Who maintains? If you've got an amenity, everybody has to pay in to maintain said amenity, right? Same with a pool, right? You mentioned the rooftop pool. Well, they've got to have chemicals. They've got to have someone go and clean the pool to make sure that it's maintained. They've got to maintain the deck around, like, that costs money. Right. And so, so it's always an amenity situation of what amenities do you want or not want, which is either going to raise or lower. The age of the complex is going to raise or lower just based on maintenance. If I have an elevator and it's old, it's going to cost me more than a new building with a new elevator, right? And then the only other thing that really will adjust an association fee with the amount of units within the complex, right? So if you have a lot of units spreading the cost over a greater number of people, well, then usually the association's lower, as long as there are not too many amenities involved. Right. And so you always have to balance, how many people do you want? Like, do you want a complex with 100 people, or do you want a complex with 10? Okay, I want a quiet complex, I only want 10. Sure. Well, then if anything breaks, you're dividing that about around 10, right? Where if this breaks, so it's always that fine balance of what kind of lifestyle do the new buyers want within the condo, and understanding what amenities do they want to what money do they want to pay. But it's a nonprofit. I always remind people, it's a nonprofit.
No matter how high the fees are,
it's always, there's always a budget, and every year you get to review the budget, and everybody ultimately votes and approves said budget and has an opportunity to say, well, why are we paying so much for this or that, or changing from there. Okay.
So if you're interested in maybe looking for a condo, or maybe you're looking to sell one, Steve and I are very happy to help you.
We love condos.
We love condos.
Yeah. Thank you.